Well, this is a special treat. Hey, I got something to say. I am recording on Zoom with Dr. Stryer so you can share it with the world. Hi, Dr. Stryer. How are you?
So good to see you again. I'm so happy to be here.
I feel like we're all palsies by now. I've had you on so many different shows. But before we get into that, I just want to tell them a little bit about you, just a teeny bit. You're still in New York City, right?
Yes.
You're a psychotherapist that mainly works with individuals and couples, and your specialty is sex therapy.
Yes, indeed.
By the way, you were the bomb last time. I had so many people that were writing in with questions, and then after I aired it, they're like, no, bring her back. So I know this is mostly just for the gals, but we have to bring you back on again. All right, because a lot of my people want to know. They have a lot of questions.
Be my pleasure.
Okay, so a lot of great tips you have for my ladies here, but the main one you started out that big and bold is find ways to value yourself and uniqueness. Now, Shauna, this is easier said than done, don't you think? Easier said than done.
Absolutely, particularly against the impact of social media. It makes it harder because they're very busy telling us how to be, how to look, how to behave, how to think. But as you listen to yourself, as you value yourself, as you really find your own rhythm, you need to trust it. You need to go forward. You need to enter into areas that you're passionate about and curious about and not be afraid to fail. Because in failing or not hitting the mark that you want to make, you'll learn, you grow.
I do think it gets easier with age, don't you?
Sometimes, not always, but
not always.
Not always. Wisdom, they talk about the whole accumulation of wisdom along the lifespan. I think that is true. I think that it's important not to take yourself so seriously. I mean, look toward your vision line, but at the same time, you got to breathe, you got to relax, you got to trust your instincts and the organic process as you move forward.
As always, I ask my listeners for some questions for you. And the one thing that women are saying over and over again, although it's changed a lot, they still, especially the women I'm going to say in their 50s and 60s, they still feel ashamed sometimes of what they want sexually or their sexuality, that they're not supposed to want those things or ask for those things. I don't know if it's that way with the younger generation, but a lot of the women, which is why I created the show, Hey, I Got Something to Say, a lot of that age group feels like, they don't feel heard. They don't feel anybody's listening to them. They don't feel valued. But what I didn't realize is sometimes they think, oh my, should I really be asking for that or think that? I don't know if you deal with that with your clients.
Well, you could imagine that's a theme, of course. And it's really across the ages, not just older people. I would say one thing is you have to really allow yourself to discover and identify through self-exploration, through your relationships, what you like, what is a turn on for you, and also how to create connection. Because it's in the connection in the lovemaking that really forms and enhances the intimacy. So so it is not just, I have to tell you what I like and know. How you diminish the embarrassment is you set up the rapport, you set up the comfort, you go for the opportunity to share what you like and what you don't like. It's important to have those conversations because, hey, no one reads your mind. No one knows. And if you don't know yourself, because it's maybe a little bit too scary, or you feel like, wait a minute, there's some hard boundaries here, I can't go there. Let yourself explore. stay in the adventure of the expression of sexuality.
Well, what about, and I got a lot of women that reached out about this, Dr. Stryer, that, they got in a rut. They've been married 20, 25, 30 years, but they still feel, frisky. And yet they don't know how to break up that conversation after many years of it being the same way. And as they say, bored out of their minds, one of them says. How do you do that after it's been that way for so long? And they love their spouses, they say.
Well, sometimes you could venture into the conversation by using a book, a play, a movie. Hey, what do you think about this? Might you want, what about if we went in this direction? There's all kinds of guides that can lead you in that direction. But sometimes it's just about trying things out. It doesn't always have to be a conversation. It can be entering into more of a flirtatious mode, maybe, bringing a sex toy to the playfulness, or a new move, or an adventure in role playing. It's like, take the chance. That's the point. Have fun with it. Let it be an adventure. So if you're looking towards your partner to spruce it up, that's okay, but you need to look towards yourself. You can be the one that creates the action.
I think it's easier when the other person does it, because then you feel like, oh, they really want me, and you're afraid of getting rejected, right? They might say, oh, no, not tonight. I'm tired, whatever. What are you doing? What's going on? I guess you have to be okay with risking that.
Yes, you have to be okay. And it's true. Sometimes you wait for the gesture because it's permission giving, but really you have to give yourself the permission. You have to be willing to explore. And what's this rejection? There's no, really, I mean, are we going to evaporate? I think we need to take chances. That's what these years this time is about. It's about taking chances and exploring. And I think those are the lessons that I'm learning from my younger patients. They would hesitate from saying, hey, this sounds like fun. Let's go for it. And that's what I encourage women really through whatever generation they're from to do.
Good advice. Good advice. I know, not even to do with sex, but I was saying to my husband, I really would like it if we sat around the dinner table more. And I was getting upset, the TV's on, we should sit around the dinner table. He goes, well, why didn't you say something? I had no idea.
Exactly. That's my point. You have to express yourself. There's no mind reading here. Yeah. And if you fall into the way of thinking that the man is supposed to lead you, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
We have our voice. We have our desires. We're entitled to our passions. Yeah. And what's most important is to establish rapport as you have that conversation. So in the comfort of the connection and the building of mutual trust, those conversations can be very, fun and enlightening and open up opportunities for us. But one thing that I also want to say when it comes to opening up opportunities is to understand that as women rise to positions of power, when there's more choices than ever, and I think it is so fabulous that they bring their femininity, the uniqueness of their femininity with them, empathy, listening, sensitivity, a cooperative spirit. Because one thing that social media, I think, has catapulted is that it can be a very competitive world out there. You're always comparing, and if and people are wanting to be so perfect in what they do, even perfect in their conversations about sexuality. People come in with extraordinary ideas about what an orgasm is, how often they should be sexual. And it's not about what they imagine the world is saying, that blueprint is, they need to find their own rhythm. They need to find what works for them.
Yeah. You know, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because two things. One, the first thing, I just had a woman yesterday say to me, why was I trying to act like a man at my job? You know what I mean? Like you were saying, why? I mean, that's the whole balance of it. Bring your femininity. You know, it's so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. And she was saying I was trying to fit in and act like one of the boys, and it wasn't me.
Well, it's emulating the male model, which I think is not the way. When we first started this whole thing of pushing women forward was our idea. It's bringing forth the joy and the beauty of being a woman into positions of power and authority that bring a much more cooperative energy to it. And that's the same thing right down to a couple situation. It's bringing your sense of yourself, your power, your joy, your softness, your firmness, your ideas into the relationship. It's leaning into a relationship. It's leaning into whatever position you're having.
You know, doctor, this is a lot of good stuff to take in. I just think we can't expect it to happen overnight, but just remind ourselves gradually of all these little things of how we should be showing up in the world, you know?
And that's why it's so important that women really help each other out in this, because it still is hard, even though we've come a long way. And I know that sounds like a cliche thing to say. We still need each other as a group to really support what you and I are really saying, which is to feel the importance of who you are and what you're doing, as well as bringing forth the empathy and the softness and the idea of cooperation.
Yeah. And you know, I know it's cliche, but I'm very cliche and cheesy, but I do believe we've come a long way. And I also do believe that women are supporting women more nowadays. I do feel that, because I remember back in the day, it was a little bit more like in cutthroat. And I think a lot of it was like, oh my God, how many positions are there for the female? And also I do feel like we thought we had to be manly, you know? And now we're realizing, no, we all bring something different to the table. And that by helping each other, we do get further in life.
Yes, but we cannot underestimate the impact of social media. That is the thing that is unique to now, and what it's like to put yourself against whatever image you are looking at, and you know, and the impact that that has on how you feel about yourself. So I think that there is a little bit more of a fear mode of, as I, you know, the sort of criticism that might come back to you. You know, whether it be self-criticism and the push toward perfection. And that's the thing that I'm hoping we can back away from.
Yeah. You know, I think it's something that you have to remind yourself of every day, because I think a lot of the influence on social media, we don't want to even admit to ourselves, and it's subconscious, you know? Yeah. And you have to remind yourself, like, wait a minute, you know, obviously they're putting their, you know, best foot forward. And is that really who I want to be in Emily? You know, and but I think it's tricky, because I love a lot of things. Look, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for social media. And there's a lot of great things with it, but I think it seeps in there without us even knowing it.
Absolutely. And also what I have coined is sort of the exposure risk. What will people say? How will they evaluate it? How many, you know, likes do
you
know, the comments. So how does that impact us? And that's what I'm also addressing when it comes to building confidence. and the willing to take risks. There is that force, there is that awareness of the pushback coming from social media.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to say that I'm not easily influenced, but sometimes I have to admit, there were times I thought, oh my gosh, maybe there's people that know way more than me. Maybe there's people doing what I do that are younger. Oh my God, look at them,
I know that one thing that I always sense from you is your feeling of confidence. And that feeling of confidence and also your enthusiasm for what you do overrides it. But imagine if you're 17, 18, kind of looking for what will I be? How will I become?
Oh, no, too much.
Like then there, you're looking around, you look at, and you go by store windows and you go, oh, okay, I guess I have to wear this. I have to do that.
Too much. It would be too much at a young age. Too much. I don't know how they handle it. I really don't. I kind of feel fortunate.
Yes, it certainly contributes to confusion, but it also contributes to choice and to creativity. So it depends upon how you take it in, how you hold on to and sort of identify what is uniquely you. And so it's important to kind of look around and see what the themes are and see what, triggers your interest, but don't ever lose sight of yourself.
That's a good point. Like you said, on one side of it, they're dealing with stuff that we never dealt with, that's so much there. But on the other side, there's much more available and choices to be had and creativity and expression in so many different ways. I mean, think about it. Even my son is 18, is a senior in high school. I think the fashions are all over the place and they're okay with it. I don't know if you remember when you grew up, it was like everyone wore this and everyone wore that. It's not that way anymore.
I know. And actually, I find it delightful.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's people are looking toward how do I want to express who I am by how I dress, how I move, how I think, who I relate to, what I do. But at the same time, it's that journey of defining that path is a much more cumbersome. It can be much more cumbersome.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that you learn stuff from your young people. Is there anything else, like one big takeaway from your clients that you said, wow, this is what I've learned from them and looking through their eyes?
Embrace the idea that you have the power to change. You have the power to actualize what you want to do. And to be proactive about that, not to kind of wait around and hope that somehow you'll be noticed, you'll be recognized, that perfect person is going to come around and sweep you off your feet, or that job somehow is going to land, in your corner. It's important, particularly in these days with social media, that you need to go after what you want and don't feel limited by anything, really.
Dr. Strayer, you mentioned here that apply for jobs that don't have exactly, you don't have the right experience. So tell us more about that. Like, don't worry if it says this and you don't exactly have that, if you think that you want it.
I mean, well, I want to refine that. I don't mean that it's yin and yang. I mean, you don't have to be a perfect fit necessarily if it's something that you want. Like, you can bring to it that I have a certain talent, I have a certain ability. This job would really appeal to me and I would give my all to it. Why not throw your hat in the ring? Why not try? And that's the same thing even with relationships. Like, don't have your inner conversation of, boy, I can't cut the mustard. There's no way I could be selected here. Don't let that override your willingness to try.
I love that. Dr. Stryer, this show is way too short for all these things to get in. We're going to have to bring you back sooner. But I do want to talk about this because I think it's really important. Women are so incredible. We must not allow our egos and insecurities to disrupt the special relationships we can co-create with another woman or as a woman. Tell us more about that.
A delicious aspect, in my opinion, of being a woman are the relationships that you form with women. I mean, we seem to understand how to be there, how to listen, how to support. And that's something I think that I would hate for it to really unravel. So yeah. I'm a person that's championing for the power and uniqueness of the support that we as women can give to each other.
Yeah. And I do think it comes from, which we mentioned at the beginning, the more comfortable you are in your own skin and value yourself and your uniqueness, the more you're probably going to help other women.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Because
and be happier. But also, hey, let's be real. The journey is fraught with different, anxieties, ups and downs, struggles. But that's part of the growing process. It's learning how to navigate those times and learning the strategies and skills and the good communication patterns that will help you when you go through the next hurdle. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the bumps in the road. Just learn how to navigate them because they will continue.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, we got to wrap up. But one thing before we tell them how they can find you and reach you, it's driving me crazy. Where are you? I'm looking at your background there. Where are you? Is this
I'm in my imagined dream environment. A company by the name of Gruskin Group designed this Zoom background for me when Zoom became our matter of communicating to one another. I hope you find it, a pleasant environment to look at.
Oh my goodness, it's so pleasant. And I'm thinking the whole time, is she in her New York City apartment? You can't tell. I mean, it really doesn't look like fake.
I think it's brilliantly done. And if anyone is interested in developing that background, just look at gruskingroup.com.
Oh, cool. Good shout out, baby. All right. Before we go, hey, I got something to say. You're going to really want to share this, rate it, like it. And this is the great news. It's being recorded. So we're going to spread it everywhere. But how can they find you? Where can we go to find you everywhere?
Why not use my webpage, which is sharnastryer.com. And that's SHARNASTRIAR.com. And that's probably the best way to reach me.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to come to New York and meet you in person.
That would be so much fun.
Oh my God, we would have a blast. Thank you for being on the show. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And really, thank you so much.
I want to have you back on.
It'd be my pleasure.
Because I didn't even get to half the questions or half your tips, and they are awesome sauce. And I also think it's something we just have to continually remind ourselves of.
Yes.
All right, ladies out there, just remember, you are unique and find ways to value yourself. Until next time, toodles.